welcome to another episode of the Tell Matt Show. As always, we're your hosts. We have the lovely Kirsha Fox, author of newly released Son of Deception, homeschooling mom of 4, and avid gamer.
And my co-host is Julia J.K. Allen. She's an editor, author, and author coach. She's a fantasy and horror author who likes to put magic in everything. Thanks so much for joining us.
And we're super excited to have Patrick F. Johnson on. As Kirsha was telling me before the show, he always introduces himself a certain way. So would you like to read the bio, or do you want me to?
I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Science fiction author Patrick F. Johnson has 13 sci-fi titles published so far and is currently working on his first non-science fiction book. It's a fantasy novella called Endowment. When he's not writing, he's either at his day job or spending time with his wife and 4 children.
Welcome.
Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
So I heard that other authors were, in fact, introducing themselves the way you introduce yourself on TikTok.
Yes, I became a meme.
I love that. And how do you introduce yourself on TikTok?
I'm science fiction author Patrick F. Johnson.
I love it.
That's it.
Simple to the point, and yes, very memorable somehow.
Somehow. I don't know.
I think, well, that would be like the achievement of a lifetime, right? Just becoming a virtual meme, right?
You would think. But I always tell the kids when they're leaving, I always say, don't become a meme. So it's
right. It's not always a pleasant experience.
do as I say, not as I do kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So tell us a little bit about your writing journey. When did you start writing and why?
I started writing in 2017 because someone told me that I couldn't do it.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gen X, so you don't tell me that, because I'll prove you wrong every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go into more detail about it, but I don't want to offend anyone.
Oh, okay. So what genres do you like to dabble in?
I've always been into science fiction, whether it's the books I read, movies I watch. Had a comic book phase, but I'm branching out into fantasy. I might just be a one-off. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Try it and see how it goes. Sounds good.
What do you love so much about the science fiction genre?
I don't know. I was 5 years old when Star Wars came out. I saw it in the theater, and it ruined me. So here I am. That's what happens.
I know, right? It was a very influential movie, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
For sure. And seeing it on the big screen, I imagine, was just an experience.
Yeah. Never forget. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there anything in particular about fantasy that makes you intrigued by it, or is it just really apropos for the idea that you got?
It's the idea I had is so off the wall that I couldn't think up a good scientific explanation for this condition. Oh. So magic makes everything possible.
Magic does do that.
It does. I do enjoy a little magic myself in my writing.
So right. I kind of went into a lot of magic. Kind of surprised myself. So.
Yeah. Very nice.
There's a lot of really fun possibilities in a fantasy world. Like nothing is off the table if you can explain how it works and why. Like,
right.
But you're like, that's just how it works. And they go, okay, because it's magic.
Right.
I mean, I write fantasy as well. So like, it's not by any means an easy thing to create a magic system or to create a world that feels livable. But like, if you have a knack for it, you can do it.
Well, I don't know if I have a knack or not. So I'm waiting for the 1 stars to pour in.
right?
I kind of feel like you haven't really, like, that's when you've made it, when you get a 1 star. Because even if you look at, like, the classics too, like, almost indisputably everyone's like, oh yeah, there's something of value in that I love of this book. It's gonna have like a million 1 stars where people are like, I hate this book, you know. So
Well, I can tell you, I've definitely made it then.
yeah, well, I mean, that's the nice thing. You're in good company, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's see. So what does your writing process look like start to finish, from idea to finished novel?
Well, I don't know how typical this is, but
Uh-huh.
everything just kind of comes to me and it plays in my head like a movie.
Uh-huh.
So then I write it all out, and then I try to edit and make it into a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had people call it out. It's like an action movie in book form. I'm like, that's what I was going for. So you know how when you're watching a movie and you're really engaged and it
Uh-huh.
cuts from scene to scene, then back to where they were. I like doing that stuff like that. A little bit of head hopping, but I think I haven't had too many complaints. So
All right.
Okay, yeah. Do you like to plot a little bit, know what's going to happen next, or are you completely by the seat of your pants?
a little bit of both. I don't write anything out like an outline,
Mm-hmm.
but see, my last job, I was a field service manager and I drove around all day, like mindlessly.
Right.
So all day long, I've been thinking about the next couple of scenes.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And then when it came time to write, after the kids are in bed, I had it all just in my head ready to go. So I could blast out a couple thousand words. And, once I ran out of juice, because, you got to sleep sometimes,
Right.
just repeat the process. So,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my colleague Katie Zulitis has a great thing. She is a little more on the pantsing side than I am, but she always has her to-do list, right? Grab eggs, grab milk, slay the dragon, free the princess, kind of thing. So she doesn't have to write it all down and plot it, but she has an idea of like major things to hit.
When you're a parent of 4 kids, like we are,
Mhm.
because I've talked to many people about this, they're like, "How are you writing when you have kids and responsibilities?" And
Right.
and I said, "Well, I'm thinking about my story all day as
Mhm.
I'm doing the laundry, as I'm doing the dishes, as I'm playing with the kids, because you can do those things and still have it going on in your head. So by the time you actually do sit down, it just you're able to write quite a lot in one sitting."
absolutely. I also have 4 kids,
Hmm.
5 if you include my stepson, but he's 30 and out of the house. But yeah, four kids at home, but get home from work. I mean, I try to give them every bit of my time
Hmm.
and
Right.
until they all go to bed. Now the older two kind of get into my writing time a little more, but that's what
Mhm.
I'm here for.
Hmm.
Yes. When we were discussing before the show, some of what you could see as strengths of your writing, you talked about dialogue. So, what writing tips do you have for dialogue for other authors?
Oh, I don't give tips. I can just tell you what I do.
Okay.
That's
I,
perfect.
yeah, I don't believe in giving advice because I have a weirded relationship with advice. But what I do, like if I have a male main character,
Mhm.
I think about the way dudes talk to each other. It's never flowery, and very rarely we have guys opening up to each other. Now, um, I know female main character or female characters in general will open up a little more, and
Mhm.
so I try to balance that. Ask my wife a lot of questions as I'm going. Um, I have
Hmm.
2 boys and 2 girls, so various ages I can, um, ask like, would this person think say this? They hear about my stuff enough; they know what's going on. So,
Mhm.
you know, I guess that's research. Hmm,
Research in real time. I love it.
yeah. So yeah, I just try to make the conversations like accurate, like authentic,
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
because like George Lucas wrote terrible dialogue, so I just do the opposite.
Right. We can
Yes.
be inspired by what we don't want to do as much as we can by what we do want to
Mhm.
do. Absolutely.
A lot of authors have said that they'll like sit and sort of people watch, and they'll
Mhm.
sort of just listen in on the dialogue and kind of get an idea for the beat, the patterns, the things they talk
Right.
about, like how how they
The
interact with each
rhythm of
other.
conversation. Hmm.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
does that doesn't work for me. I live in Indiana, so
Yeah.
people the way people talk to each other here is kind of kadur, you know.
I'm from Michigan, so I get the Midwest accent is funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Um, so when you talk about making dialogue authentic, how do you balance keeping it realistic sounding, but like taking out things that could be tedious to the reader, like the ums and ahs and more things that we do in real life that we don't want to read.
Well, I mean, in real conversation, there are ums and ahs,
Hmm.
so you got to put a few of them in. Just and that really helps to set the tone for the character.
Mm,
Um, when the same character might talk to three different people in different ways, depending on who they're talking to,
right.
and then people in the conversation interrupt each other a lot.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. So I try to, you know, then if you're like me talking to people, in real life I have running gags
Hmm.
and jokes aplenty. So they kind of throw that out there too.
Yeah, each character is going to have their own personality and way of speaking. Absolutely.
So
Um,
you're what you say is that you do put those pauses in, you do put those interruptions in, you do put the ums and the ahs, and like even how relaxed they are, like that it brings your characters to life then.
Yeah, I like
So
to think so.
yeah, it's I think it's important to actually make sure you include that, because if people in your books speak too well,
mm,
you start to lose that realism. Like, so sounds like you're doing something right.
I
yeah.
I'm trying.
Try.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that authentic and yet still dramatic dialogue is like amazing when you nail it and you get it right. It's like so satisfying.
Mhm.
For sure.
So, can I ask? Because it a lot of your TikToks are quite humorous in nature. Do
Mhm.
you feel like your books are also like? Is there a lot of humor in them?
A lot of running gags.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just little things to keep. I know I keep talking about movies and stuff, even though I'm an
Oh no,
author, but
that's fine. That's your process.
I like when there's some humor in a movie
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily a comedy.
Right.
I don't go like full Deadpool, but I try to keep it light when it can be. Now at times you have to be serious, so
Mhm.
um, few action hero type quips here and there,
Right.
and but a lot of it's like they come out wrong just because that's funnier. So
Uh-huh.
Right. So, you're breaking tension with the humor, but you're also creating a different kind of tension because it gets misinterpreted what
yeah,
they say. Oh, I love it. Yeah. That's
Do
great.
you ever make yourself laugh when you're rereading back at your old work?
sometimes.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Oh,
you see
that's
it
always a
coming.
nice feeling.
I guess it really depends on how much beer I had when I was writing. And I don't remember writing that. That was pretty good. You know,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I,
Are
I
you a
don't want to
fan
sound
of
like a
the?
drunk. I don't
There's
want
the
to sound like a
phrase.
drunk though.
Oh, okay. Oh, was it like Hemingway? He was like right drunk
Drunk,
and
edit,
edit sober.
sober. Hmm.
You see, I always say right drunk, edit slightly less drunk.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right then.
But I don't want to sound like a drunk though.
Okay.
Too late.
No, I love that. So having a day job and having the kiddos at home, how do you make time for writing? Like, how do you balance the life and writing?
Well, I'm down to about 2 nights a week of writing
Hmm.
because of my added responsibilities and my new position. So I just cut back on sleep.
Right. Yeah, we have to sacrifice sleep, unfortunately, sometimes. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not going to take any time away from the kids, and I'm not allowed to take time away from work. So yeah, I just skip it, skip the sleep, or I just don't write. So,
Right.
one of those things.
Yep. They say, how do you find time to write? And I'm like, I'm really tired. Yep. Those books are getting written.
Right. I think that, yeah, it's a hard balance for sure, especially like when you have kids, because they always must be the priority and stuff. But I do feel that it's important to nurture our creativity too, as well. So sometimes sleep just goes by the wayside for sure.
So what's your favorite part of being a writer, since you sort of began writing out of spite, but apparently you're having fun with it?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite part is because I'm writing books, I can hang out with folks like you, and you don't think I'm a total poser.
Right.
So, but I'm not trying to be full-time bestseller. I'm just getting my stories out there the way I want to do it. So
right, just kind of enjoying the process.
Yeah, and I try to enjoy every step of the process, including marketing. You can have fun marketing.
Oh, you'll have to teach me your ways.
Well, just go on TikTok and act like an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
That's gold.
That's not hard for me. Right. I know you just said you like to enjoy every part, but is there a part of writing that you don't enjoy as much as others?
I can't think of anything, because if it wasn't fun, I probably wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. That's very true. I think that I got started in horror in a very similar way that you got started in writing in general. Someone dared me, and they dared me to write a horror story because I said I couldn't. And so I was just like, okay. And I had so much fun doing it, but it was kind of a similar vein as, someone telling you couldn't do it. And so you're like, yes, I will do it.
And now she's Julia J.K. Allen, horror writer.
Yeah. Now I love writing horror. I can't stop. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you said you don't really like giving advice. Is there any particular writing advice that you were given that you thought was really helpful for you to use?
Well, the only bit of advice that I ever felt was valid was get your butt in the chair and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything else, you work it out. You can edit.
Right.
You can't edit a blank page. You gotta do it. Mm-hmm. So all the adverb talk, all the dialogue tag talk,
mm-hmm.
My I don't know if you've heard me say this on TikTok, but my dream as a writer, as an author, is to have my own asterisk. Except for science fiction author Patrick F. Johnson. Don't use adverbs unless you're science fiction author,
Yeah.
Don't use dialogue tech, and so that's how advice to me is almost like a dare.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I see.
It's a challenge, right?
Well, I mean, you gotta look at where it's coming from. I mean, so much of it is just, people trying to flex.
Right.
It's like I have these credentials, so I am saying you shouldn't do this and you should do this. Right. I mean, I had a lady on Twitter slide into my DMs to tell me she could only get through 2 chapters of my book because I don't write like Stephen King.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's funny, because last I checked, I was Patrick F. Johnson and not Stephen King.
Right.
That's exactly what I said. I'm writing Patrick F. Johnson books, not Stephen King books. And it's just stuff like that. That's just fuel. I don't get upset.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't get upset over anything online. I was on AOL back in the day. I can take it. So,
right.
As were we.
Yeah, there were some vicious chat rooms. Yeah. For sure. I think Stephen King doesn't always write like Stephen King, right? Because if you look at his advice of never use adverbs, I'm pretty sure everyone uses adverbs sometimes, right? So
There's some really good adverbs. We use
there
them.
are, yeah, there are.
What's your favorite adverb? Mine is mercilessly.
I like gingerly.
Ooh.
Gingerly.
Ooh, those are
Yes.
good ones. Let me think if I have a favorite one.
I don't think that there's
facetiously.
like a way that you can cut out the word gingerly, like to make a strong verb.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I had a few suggestions for mercilessly, and in the context, my main character, my main series, is basically a superhero. He's fighting these bipedal insectoids, okay?
Right.
And he's not trying to kill anyone, but he does rip one of their arms off and uses it to beat their other ones. Like he beats them mercilessly. There's no better way to describe it than he beat them mercilessly.
Right. Sometimes there's like a precision of language that you just should not be messed with, right? If you have the perfect word for it, use that word and you can really convey a lot.
I liked it, so I kept it.
Yeah. I think that
filed their suggestions away.
Yeah.
right.
No, like words are the paint that we use to create this movie, to create this canvas. So like when you say he beat them with their own arm mercilessly, we know exactly what that looks like in our heads.
Right. That is a very nice picture.
It's a
that
very
we get
good
in our
image.
minds. Yeah. I think that I understand the essence of that advice because like he ran quickly, you could just say sprinted, dashed. Like there are more precise words, but sometimes the adverb is the precision, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I never say never, right? So
Right. Do you have any like strong influences in your writing? You said you particularly like superhero type things.
Well, and that comes from the comic book phase I went through, and that came to an abrupt end when all my comics got stolen.
Oh,
I was like, I
no.
can't afford to replace them, so like, well, I'll just let that part go.
Right. I'm so sorry.
But as far as reading, I've read like Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert Heinlein, Jack Williamson. Those are the guys I kind of gravitated toward. Just forget the Heinlein's later books when he kind of got weird with nipples and stuff. But stuff like that. More, like, especially with the Heinlein, it was more. There's an accuracy to it because he would explain in depth the science. Like he would explain the ballistics behind firing a rocket to the moon, things like that. So not everyone can do that accurately, and I'm really impressed because I can't do it, so I fake it. But that's fun too. So
I really enjoy the books that I come away feeling smarter, like I understand something a lot better now. It's like sneaky learning.
Yeah. When the author just knows so much about the topic and you glean information from reading it. Yeah.
You're probably not going to like my books then.
It's all right.
Nothing wrong with a good space opera.
I appreciate when an author can do that, though. By all means, like it's amazing. I don't think you're going to learn much from my books either, except like don't be making any really big choices when you don't have all your memories. That's
right. Okay. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
I always wonder how people write characters like Sherlock Holmes or like those really intelligent characters that know so much. Like how to successfully write a character that is probably smarter than you, I think that would be like really challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I could pattern characters after my kids. My kids are all smarter than me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could do that. In fact, my oldest went through a Sherlock Holmes phase. So I heard all about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love when people have like a special interest that they're passionate talking about and they just get so excited to share with you. Yeah, that's very
it's even cooler as a parent to see them discovering this thing and just really seeing them love it so much. So,
yeah.
Mine are a bit on the younger side, but I'm looking forward to that. Right now, it's all Minecraft.
Oh, You know, I had one video blow up, and it was talking about Minecraft.
Hmm.
So
It's very popular.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I said my intro.
Right. Right. Um,
Yeah.
where do you find your inspiration? I know you said that, driving around helped you to think about your story, but is there anywhere you go specifically for inspiration?
Well, I guess I could blame it on the concussions. I have no idea. Things just pop in my head. For one book, the novella 1223, I was talking to a friend on Twitter, and we're talking about how it plays out like a movie.
Right.
And she's like, "Hey, maybe we're related." And it was a joke because she's a sophisticated African American woman
Mhm.
in California. So actually, when I wrote the book, is the one with the two writers. I made one of them a borderline redneck from Indiana. The other one a sophisticated African American woman from
Mhm.
California. And so I got away with it because being African American had nothing to do with the story.
Mhm.
It wasn't about being black. So, it was a character happens to be black. That's how
Yeah.
you can, be inclusive.
Right. Right.
Just know when it's not your story to write. So
Right.
just throwing that out
Mhm.
there. Hey, that was almost advice, wasn't it?
Almost.
It was good though.
Got a little
Good
closer.
advice. Yeah.
But that's important insight, I think,
Mhm.
right? Is
Right.
is being able to represent, but like not what's the
Speak
right?
over. Yeah.
Yeah, not speak over.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
I
what I
completely
do
lost
though,
my train of thought. I'm sorry.
what I do, I ask people.
Mhm.
It's like I have a character who's like this. I don't want to go over the top. It's not my place. And so all the feedback I got was like, "You're good." And so,
Okay.
Yeah,
So you would use like
sensitivity
a
readers
sensitivity
and
reader
yeah,
then.
yeah.
so
All right.
Yeah, I think those are a valuable resource that people should take advantage of more
oh
often.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever dealt with writer's block?
no,
No?
no.
Awesome.
Luck.
So sometimes I'm just tired,
Right,
but
right.
I think it's something totally different because I can crank out some words if my problem is I'm kind of a creature of habit.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my place I sit is set up,
Right.
and I got to have a block of time.
Right, but that kind of gets you into the writing mindset.
Yeah.
So when you do sit down, it just pours out. Oh, that's very nice. Yeah. Yeah, I know some people have like little rituals, like they'll have a cup of tea and some candles, set the mood, the ambiance for writing, which I think can be helpful. But
Mhm.
yeah.
What would you say has been your most significant writing victory so far?
Just finishing the thing.
That's a good one.
So you look at all the millions of books that are published every year. That is such a small percentage of people
Right.
in the world, and so many people want to write.
Mm-hmm.
So many people start, but to finish it and then you publish it. That's just getting it done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huge accomplishment. I always congratulate everyone that's finished a book that I know of because it is not easy and everyone has a story inside of them, but dedicating the time and the work to get it written out is definitely a victory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked a little bit about some authors that influenced you. Do you have a favorite author or favorite book and why?
Well, I don't really have a favorite author,
Mhm.
but my favorite book is A Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein.
Oh, okay.
So it's the Bible of the Love Generation.
Oh, okay. And what about that book in particular speaks to you? Because I've heard the title, but I have not read it.
I don't know, just the cast. It was an ensemble. You have your main character, but it was just it shattered so many sacred cows. Just all the Moors are just thrown out for this book, and the reactions to others when this happened. he covers a lot of stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of avant-garde for its time.
Very much so.
Mm.
Especially considering it followed up Starship Troopers. He wrote that, which became a movie franchise.
Oh, right.
For the record, the director read the first 2 chapters and never finished the book.
Oh,
That
Yeah,
explains the
I've
movie.
heard that.
explains the movie, yes.
But that one was like, the fastest were the good guys. It was really weird.
Hmm.
He won awards for it, so he managed to pull it off.
Right.
But then to follow up that, when you're thinking this guy's like a total right wing nut job, to go to the ultra radical left for Stranger in a Strange Land, and he was just bouncing around like I think in real life he's like a libertarian, but he'd be getting that mode. He's like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then I heard like hippies were showing up at his house to talk to him and stuff. After that, it's like had to be interesting. But the contrast,
yeah.
I mean,
it would be quite an experience.
I mean, you can read the books back to back, and it's like 2 totally different writers. It's amazing.
Yes, I have a few favorite writers that are like that, where you're never really quite sure what you're going to get when you open a book by them.
Right.
Some authors are very consistent. They have their formula. They have their tropes. They don't really stray away from that box. And some people, you have no idea.
You never know what to expect.
Going completely blind.
There's one character in Stranger in a Strange Land. His name is Jubal, and he's basically an old dude. He was a lawyer and a doctor. That tells you anything about this character. But how he made his living, he was a hack writer, and he would just think of something, and he had these secretaries, and he would just dictate, and they would write it down. And he'd say, okay, send it out to this place under this name. And then he had some other idea, some totally unrelated, like different genre, and he'd yell for one of the girls, and he'd dictate another story and send it off to this place under this other name.
Right.
Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be so cool, but I don't think it's not realistic, but it worked. It worked for that character, and I thought that was great. And I remember when I read that, I was a teenager, and I was like, maybe someday I'll be a writer. But I knew that once I started, I would never stop. So I waited till I was in my 40s.
You procrastinated. I don't blame you. Don't blame you.
Sometimes there's a time in a season,
Yes, always. And I love. My dream, I think, would be to be able to dictate and have someone else type it out for me. I think that's
my dream is to be one of those little old Englishmen who has a giant library full of books. I sit at my desk, and a little old lady brings me tea and cookies just every other hour, and I look out my window and it's beautiful. And that's my dream. I want the little old lady who brings me books while I write and contact with the world.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I know you said you hate all advice. Is there one writing advice that just you really hate the most?
Well, it really depends on where it's coming from. It's not so much what they say; it's how they say it.
Right.
I like that.
You know what I mean. There's some pretentious people in our little realm,
right?
And especially marketing advice that drives me nuts, because what works for you probably won't work for me, and doing what I do isn't going to work for most other people. So
right. Yeah. And I think the intention behind it, I can kind of laugh at this because as a younger person, I was very pedantic and probably a lot pretentious too in some ways. And so, I can laugh about it because I can definitely be remember being you should do this always, or don't do this, or now that I'm thinking about it as an older, more mature person, I'm never say never, never say always. Why was I so convinced? Yeah,
because you have your very own special way of advertising that I don't think would work for anyone besides you. I don't know anyone else who could really pull that off.
Right.
Advertise. So
I just drive it in the ground until everyone
So, but
Right.
yeah, a few times I've watched some of your TikToks or some of your things, and I'm like, does that work? Like, can you do that?
Right.
I think in particular was the book that had the white cover with just the bold black writing on it, and it was like,
You mean
oh,
the
what?
purple? The purple
There it
writing?
is. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the cover.
Yeah.
If
Read
you look
the
real
book.
close, there's a picture of me behind the words
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
because that was a joke. It's like
Mhm.
people talking about putting their picture on their books. And I'm like,
Right.
shoot, I'll put mine on
You
the
did
front.
it. Technically, you
And
did it.
so
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, and I kind of like it's got that theme of like when bookstores do like blind date with a book, and it's just like tells you the genre, and then you like just pick and go from there and have fun
Mhm.
with it. So, yeah, I love that idea.
But I love it that you kind of took a rule and you broke it and just
Mm-hmm.
ran
Oh,
with it. And yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I
So
think that we really enjoy people who learn the rule and then learn how to break it.
Yeah, I'm still learning the rules. So
Mhm.
every time I hear a rule, I'm like, oh, too late. So
would
Whoopsies.
be a
Yeah.
shame if someone broke this rule.
Right. Wink, wink. It would be a shame.
I mean, I had 4 of my covers were made for me by a friend.
Mm.
She killed them. They're awesome.
Mhm.
But I was real careful. One bit of advice I like to ignore is make your books look like the other books in your genre. Basically, you got to
Mhm.
look at all the
Right.
other covers and make sure yours fits in. And then I'm just like, well, why would you want it to fit in? And you want it to be different and stand out.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the most simple covers will do that.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything elegant. Um, the cheap books, I wanted it to just be loud and obnoxious.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, and then I have this other one. It's just really basic. See,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
blurry numbers. And when you look at all the sci-fi books with spaceships and pretty girls and buff dudes and their whatever,
Mhm.
the blurry number stands out among the others. So
Mhm.
They do. They
Mhm.
do.
that's
It's the
actually
kind of
my
cover that
most
you gotta
popular.
pick it up and read the backside. You're like,
Right.
what even is this? What's it
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
And that's the point of the book cover, right? Get them to pick it up and
Right.
turn it around
Right.
and read the blurb and read the first page.
Yeah. It's like the hook, right? Where you get them asking questions so they want to read more. Yeah.
For my covers, I looked at all the different covers. I went to bookstores and looked at all the covers, and I was just like, there is no rule. There is no rule here. It's
Mm-hmm.
just make a nice cover. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's just have an aesthetic, right?
yeah,
Oh,
have an aesthetic
Mhm.
and do that.
but I feel like if you're writing a long series, the covers don't have to be as good later on.
They're already hooked, right? They've
Yeah.
already read book 1. They need to find out what happens next. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
I'm like my cover artist isn't gonna like you if you don't.
Right. Hopefully they don't watch this particular episode.
Yeah, fine.
No, I love your cover. So,
I'm just being realistic.
yeah. No. Yeah. I
All right.
think I think different covers appeal to different people anyways, right? So even if it doesn't match the vibe for the genre overall, someone is going to be like, "Oh, I really like that style better than what everyone else is doing anyways." Like,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about like where people can learn more about you? Do you have a website? Obviously, they should follow you on TikTok.
mhm.
This is
Yeah.
your chance to say anything about you that you'd like people to know about.
Oh, okay. It's weird. I don't normally talk about myself much. See, I'm on TikTok at Patrick F. Johnson. I'm on Twitter at Patrick F. Johnson. Instagram, I'm saving for my other interests, although I'm thinking about maybe porting out more of my TikToks. I just started doing that on YouTube as well. I have a YouTube channel, but it's like a super secret.
Oh.
It's called Patrick's Super Secret Channel. It's just my music primarily, but that I have been doing some work with shorts, and it's just my TikToks.
Mhm.
I don't have a website. I have a domain. It's been a work in progress for 3 years now.
Hmm.
Not quite there yet.
Mhm.
And then I have the Amazon author page.
Which everyone should definitely follow you on, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if you want, no
If
pressure. I mean, I don't do anything with it. I just like publish books, and it shows up, and it's like magic.
Mhm.
See, I have a face-based page, but I don't do anything with it. Just ignore
Right.
that one.
Right,
And
right.
that's about it.
Okay. So you said something about a super secret YouTube channel for your music. Are you a musician as well?
Yes.
What instruments do you play? Instrument.
Guitar, bass, drums, vocals.
Oh,
The whole
wow.
thing. Awesome.
Then I've done a lot of sequencing with loops, and I combine loops and real instruments, and
Right.
just rock and roll. It's all rock and roll to me.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just you and that's the whole thing, or do you play with other people or
Let's see. I have maybe one song on there that other people from one of my old bands,
Mhm.
Mm,
but
mm.
mostly it's just me.
Oh, nice.
Sounds
Yeah,
fun.
I think that's so cool when you can like loop part of what you played so you can play other instruments or other little melodies. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Well, I used to, play in bands and record a lot of stuff, and I had an actual recording room in my last house.
Ooh, yeah.
Where we live now, I don't. So the music's kind of back burner. And so that's when the writing really picked up, because I had to have
Mm-hmm.
some outlet for my creative thoughts.
Mhm.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's really taken over. I mean, I pick up my guitar now, I'm like rusty. It's crazy. So,
Oh, you lose those calluses fast, I'm sure too.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. But yes, so you've been absolutely fabulous to talk to. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well,
Yes.
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And everyone go check out his music, go check out his writing. Thank you so much for listening along at home. Join us for our next episode. We're happily in season 2. And remember, there's more than one way up a mountain. If you're interested in being a guest on the Tell Not Show, you can find us at social media at the Tell Not Show, and on our email is thetellnotshow@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and liking. We appreciate all the support. Julia J.K. Allen is an author, editor, and coach and can be found at hijinksrudder.com.
Kirsha Fox is an author, avid reader, gamer, and mother to 4, and you can find her at kirshafox.com. Thanks and see you next time.